for the weekend. But is the revised package the right medicine for the ailing economy? We have a couple of congressmen here to weigh in. Republican Jim Jordan from Ohio. Also with us right now, we have a Democrat, Joseph Crowley from New York. Thanks to both of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Jordan, Congressman Jordan, let me start with you.
Yep.
According to the Congressional Budget Office, by the end of 2010, this plan is supposed to create 1.2 to 3.6 million jobs and increase GDP by 1.1% or 3.3. First of all, that's an enormous range. Are you comfortable with the low end of this range based on what it's costing?
Well, the CBO is pretty good at predicting, but I would argue that this is not a stimulus plan. I mean, all you got to do today is look at the front page of the Washington Times. There's an article on there about $30 million in this plan to help the salt marsh mouse in a wetlands restoration project. I mean, what we need to be doing is reducing the tax burden. This works every time it's tried. Reduce the tax burden on families, small business owners, entrepreneurs. That will create more jobs than what's in the study you cited. That will help our economy grow much more than this idea that we're going to spend our way back to prosperity. If spending was going to get us out of this mess, we'd have been out of it a long time ago, because frankly, that's all the Congress has been doing. That's all the government's been doing over the last year and a half. So the CBO usually has pretty good numbers, but we could have higher numbers, more job growth, better economic activity if we did the right thing, which is reduce the tax burden. This idea of spending is not going to get us there.
Mr. Crowley, I want you to comment on what Mr. Jordan just said. A lot of supply-siders would have said slash the business tax rate,
right,
abolish or reduce the capital gains tax. Let's help investors who are on strike. Let's help businesses that create jobs. In your opinion, sir, does this stimulus package do that job?
I think it does stimulate our economy. We'll stimulate this economy. What I'm hearing from Jim is unfortunately more of the same old we've heard over the years. It really is just say no. Continue to say no to anything the president has put forward. I can tell you that this bill is much more bipartisan than has been reported. There are certainly tax cuts in here for small businesses. There are certainly tax cuts here for Americans. 95% of Americans will see a reduction in their taxes this year in this bill. This is an emergency, Larry. This bill has to get out. Economists have said this to us over and over again. We need to get this economy stimulated.
Let me ask you, are you comfortable? Is this it? Are we going to need another stimulus package?
And quite frankly, Melissa, I don't think anyone has said that this is it. This wasn't it. This wasn't it when we passed $150 billion stimulus package last year, a $700 billion package last year as well under the former administration, the Bush administration, and this is the first attempt to deal with this crisis under the Obama administration. There will be more. There's no question about that. We'll have to do more.
Well, let me just say one thing. Joe talked about it. This has bipartisan support. The only bipartisan activity on this bill is those against it. There was 178 Republicans who voted against it and 11 Democrats who joined us and said this is the wrong way to go, because people understand, the American people get it, that you can't spend your way to prosperity. We got to remember an old line from Milton Friedman: there is no free lunch. This idea that we're going to spend our way back to prosperity is just totally wrong. And it's not more of the same. More of the same is what they're doing. Big government spending.
This has become a political position of your party to vote against the president's stimulus plan.
We have our own plan.
Costs.
We just like to be in the room and have a chance to put our plan forward.
I'll tell you, quite frankly, last year, last fall, I didn't agree with everything that President Bush wanted.
I didn't either. I voted against the bailout plan.
Paulson wanted last year. But I believe that it's in the interest of our country to do what's right, and that is to get this economy moving again.
I want to ask Mr. Jordan. This plan's going to go through. It's going to make it. So
unfortunately, it is.
All right, let's move on. Have you gone out and had your assistant get you airplane tickets to China to ask and beg the Chinese to buy the $2.5 trillion worth of bonds needed to finance this? Right. And we got some estimates now from my friend Dan Clifton, Wall Street analyst. The budget deficit this year and next year may come in at 12 to 14% of GDP.
Right,
We've never seen numbers like this. And I've never seen numbers like this, and I've been around a while. How are we going to pay for this?
Larry, your point is exactly right. What we're doing is immoral. It is wrong to saddle our kids and grandkids with this kind of debt. You're exactly right. We're going to be 10 to 12% of GDP. Never in the history of this nation have we ventured into this kind of territory. You got to go back to World War II, where we had 6% of GDP. People thought that was scary. We're now going to be 12%. We're going to be at 12% of GDP. This is wrong to do this to our kids and our grandkids. And you're exactly right. Who's going to finance this debt?
Well, Mr. Crowley, have you been? I just want to ask you, sir. Have you been to China? Have you ever talked to the Chinese bond buyers?
I have been
Because
to
they're going to
China,
be our
Larry.
new best friends. There's
Larry,
no
I have
question
been to
about
China,
that.
but let me say something to you. I have 3 children as well. I'm concerned about the future of our country and their growth and their opportunities. So I'm not here to sell to anyone, at least of all the Chinese, or most of all the Chinese. But let me say this. It is time to stop the doom and gloom. We have to start to instill in the American people confidence again. And quite frankly, this kind of talk is not helpful.
Then your president
we need
needs
to
to
move
optimist.
Yeah,
forward.
yeah,
We need to move
I don't
forward
think we need any
past
of this
this
stuff.
package.
I think
Well,
the
Larry,
economy
we may
actually
have a
is starting to
difference in
turn
opinion
up.
there.
I don't think we need any of this stuff. I'm
Larry,
sorry.
I think there is bipartisan support for moving forward.
Well, I know it.
Even,
All right.
even more that's being said in the vote that took place
Congressman
in
Jordan,
Congress.
let me ask you,
Yeah.
because we don't have a lot of
Sure.
time left. A lot of people have said today we have to wait and see what happens, how much comes out of this bill, how much stimulus we really get. How patient do you think the American public is right now before they need to see results?
The American public want a stimulus package. They don't want a big spending federal government programmatic plan that's out. That's which is what this bill is. They want a stimulus, but they understand small business owners and families keeping more of their money via tax cuts will work. We have a plan that will do that. We'd like to be in part of the debate. They understand what's going on. I was at a wrestling meet for my son 2 weeks ago after the vote, where we all voted against it, and 11 Democrats joined us. Walking across the gym floor, someone in the
Did they boo you?
No, they yelled out, "Great vote, Jordan," because they understand big federal government spending is not the answer.
All right, guys, we got to leave it there. Thanks to both of you gentlemen
you.
for joining
Thank
us.
you.
We appreciate it.
Have you been in China?